He posted it the day she died. 8 lines, no explanation, no backstory, just, "My dearest Olivia, you made all of our lives so much better." And then, at the very end, "You're Danny, you're John." A promise they'd meet again down the road. The internet broke over it. But what nobody knew, what nobody could have known from that post alone, was that John Travolta had been holding something back for 45 years. And the reason he finally couldn't anymore is the part that changes everything. Welcome to the Fame Files, where the stories behind the headlines hit harder than the headlines ever did. Because here's the question that's going to sit with you until the end of this video. If their chemistry was that real, why did Olivia Newton-John walk away from it? And what was the one quiet conversation that made up her mind for good? The answer is not what you think. Grease hit theaters in June 1978, and Danny Zuko and Sandy Olsen became one of the most iconic on-screen couples in the history of cinema. The dance numbers, the leather jacket, the final scene where Sandy climbs into a car that literally flies into the sky, all of it stuck. But what made it land wasn't the choreography. It was chemistry, the kind you can feel through a screen, the kind you cannot manufacture, the kind that makes every scripted moment look like an accident. What most people never knew was that the chemistry showed up before filming even started. They met during a screen test in the summer of 1977, and it was already there. Not built over weeks of rehearsal, not coaxed out by a director, just 2 people who happened to click at exactly the right moment in Hollywood history. They both recognized it. Years later, they'd say so. And the fact that they recognized it made the question of what to do about it that much more complicated. Because here's the part the official story always skipped. The tension was real, and they both felt it, and nothing happened anyway. The public explanation was always tidy. They were both involved with other people during filming, so it stayed professional. End of story. Except it wasn't the end. It was a door they stood at and didn't go through. And now a new biography explains exactly why. The book is called A Little More Love: The Life and Legacy of Olivia Newton-John, written by Matthew Hild and published in May 2026. People magazine ran an excerpt, and what it contained wasn't gossip. It was a single question Olivia reportedly asked a musician who had joined her band, someone who had previously been married to a Scientologist. The question was direct. If she had married John, would he have expected her to become a Scientologist? The answer she got back was that conversion wouldn't have been mandatory, but it would have been encouraged. Her response, according to the book, was simple. "Thank you. That's all I want to know." That was it. No dramatic confrontation, no tearful goodbye, no Hollywood ending. Just a quiet question, a quiet answer, and a decision she made privately and never reversed. She chose the friendship. She chose to protect what they already had rather than risk it on something that came with conditions she wasn't willing to accept. And in a 2018 interview on the No Filter podcast, she said it herself. Looking back, she thought it was actually the right call. It might have been a real disaster had we decided to date or had a falling out, she said. I think it was just as well that it didn't happen. She even added that keeping it platonic preserved the tension on screen, that the almost of it was part of what made Grease work. So she made peace with it. What about him? John Travolta has been a member of the Church of Scientology for decades. That's not a secret. What it meant for this particular story, though, is that he could never fully speak to it in public, not because anyone issued a directive we know of, but because saying anything real would open questions he couldn't close. Questions about his faith, about what he might have asked of someone he cared about this space between what he believed and what she chose. So he stayed quiet. For 45 years, he kept the depth of what they were to each other mostly private. When she was diagnosed with breast cancer, a battle she fought across 3 separate diagnoses over 30 years. He didn't discuss it publicly. When she died on August 8, 2022, at 73 years old, his tribute was emotional and genuine and careful. Short, public, surface level in the way that public things have to be when the real version is too layered to fit in a caption. The private reality was more complicated. A bond that couldn't be fully named, a love that had to protect itself by staying quiet. He made that choice year after year, and for a long time it held. But protection has a cost, and 7 months after she died, the cost showed up on his face. At the 2023 Academy Awards, John Travolta introduced the In Memoriam segment. He stood at the podium and asked the crowd to honor those dear friends who we will always remain hopelessly devoted to, pulling the lyric directly from Grease, from the song Sandy sings about him, the song that belongs to both of them. He got visibly emotional. The camera stayed on him, the internet felt every second of it, and nobody needed it explained. That was the closest he could come to saying out loud what he'd carried privately for decades. Here's what the book actually confirms, stripped from any sensationalism. There is no hidden scandal here. No secret marriage, no betrayal, no dramatic reveal. What it documents is something quieter and honestly more human than any of that. 2 people who had genuine feelings for each other, who chose their friendship over a romance that carried complications neither of them fully controlled, and who held on to that friendship for the rest of her life. Her quotes, his tributes, the documented arc of 45 years, they all point to the same thing. The bond was real. John's silence was never the absence of feeling. It was what protecting something you love looks like when you can't be with it. Now you know what was really behind those 8 lines he posted the day she died. Not a tribute from a co-star, not a PR statement, not nostalgia. It was the only version of the truth he could put into words in public. And even then, he signed it, "Your John." That's the whole story in 2 words. What do you think? Did they make the right call staying just friends, or did they give up something real? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, the ones behind the headlines that actually explain what happened, subscribe to the Fame Files. We're just getting started.